Hello and welcome to my Northern Premier League Midland Division review, your weekly home for everything happening in the NPL Midlands. I'm David Garton. I'll be breaking down the key results from the past week, analysing talking points and checking in on how the league table is shaping up and looking ahead to the next round of games. Firstly, I want to discuss some news which caught my eye over the past 7 days. So we've seen some players come and go. So James Tague has signed for Boldmere St Michael's, which to me, this is quite a huge signing. I think James Tague is quite a good player. When I saw he left Balfour Town, I thought, oh, I wonder where he'll go, because I expected him to head to one of the teams at the top end of the table. But Boldmere quite clearly want to get survival, so they've brought him in. So it'll be interesting to see how he gets on. Elsewhere, Matty Shipman has moved from Coventry Sphinx to Bedford United to boost their survival hopes, along with defender Harry Craven, who recently left Coleshill Town. AFC Rushden and Diamonds, I'll quote from their social media sites, they were delighted to announce a huge signing with John Joe O'Toole, a legend in the area. He's made 500 league appearances across his career, including promotion at Northampton Town. So it'll be interesting to see how the 37-year-old gets on, but with that kind of experience, I'm sure dropping down a few levels, he'll probably do quite well. The Racing Club Warwick, they've signed Jordan Hayward from Coventry Sphinx. Now, I'm sure people may have seen on social media, Coventry Sphinx, when they relieved the manager last week, lost quite a few players. I was told locally that at least 7 players have left. So I've seen quite a few players have left, but I haven't quite seen where they've gone to just yet. So we'll keep an eye to see where the other players do end up playing. So other news from the past week. So obviously we touched upon last week, Coventry Sphinx moving on from manager John Woodward. They now have a new management team. So they've got joint managers again. We've got Ryan Connolly and Joe Connolly. Ryan's previous experience as head coach at Alfreton. He's also scouted for Ipswich and Notts County. Joe Connolly has had managerial experience at Ayleston Park, Rugby Borough and Hinckley AFC. I did see that they brought in Jake Bull when I saw the lineup yesterday. Former Atherstone goalkeeper. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with them with a few signings. I think we'll probably see them bring some players in to shape up the squad how they want it to be. Corby Town were delighted to confirm the appointment of Leon Metum. He's agreed to be permanent first-team manager for the Steelmen till the end of the 26-27 season. So hopefully we'll see some stability at Corby Town going forward. So we'll move on to the results from the weekend's games. So I will read through the results. So it was Rushden and Diamonds 2, Sutton Coldfield Town 0, Anstey Nomads 3, Coventry Sphinx 1, Balfour Town 1, Corby Town 2, Boldmere St Michael's 0, Rugby Town 0, Lichfield City 0, Wellingborough Town 3, Loughborough Students 2, Baseford 2, Mickletover 1, Coleshill Town 1, Racing Club Warwick 0, Long Eaton United 2. Rugby Borough 0, Bedford United 2, Shepshed Dynamo 1, Bourne Town 0, and St Neots 1, Carlton Town 2. So we'll go over a couple of the key games from the weekend. We won't cover all the games. So we'll start with Balfour Town versus Corby Town. So Corby, with the new manager in place, was there to add some stability, which would appear it helped. I didn't expect this result. Liam Moran gave Balfour Town the lead in the first half in the 43rd minute, but lonely Sam Warburton would get the equaliser on the 67th minute, and then 8 minutes later fire Corby Town into the lead on the 70th minute, which would put them in 6th place and reignite their playoff chances. Rugby Borough versus Bedford United, a game I would have a close eye on. Bedford just signed Matty Shipman and Harry Craven, who both started on the bench, but it was ex-Borough striker Brian Carillion who would give Bedford United the lead on the 60th minute. But some late drama would come. George Dunkley was sent off for a second yellow card in the 95th minute to put Bedford down to 10 men for the final seconds, but Bedford United would secure all 3 points on the 96th minute when Sam Hewitt scored. This result takes Bedford United off the bottom of the table, would leave Rugby Borough stranded in the middle of the table. But there was some controversy. It would appear Rugby Borough would have had an equaliser, but due to the style of the goals, the ball bounced out when it hit the bottom of the corner. So obviously with these 4G pitches, a lot of teams have goals which wheel on. So we'll see from the video next to me right now, the strike came in, hit the bottom corner and kind of caught the triangular part at the bottom of the goal and bounced out. Obviously at that kind of speed you can't expect the assistant referee or the referee to see that. I think Rugby Borough quite aggrieved with that. So I have seen that once before at Bedford United myself, and it is quite frustrating, but you know the officials aren't going to see that, and you know there's no VAR at this level of football. So I think Rugby Borough are quite disappointed that goal didn't count, because a point at home, or it could have led them on to winning the game. We've also, another game to look at is Racing Club Warwick versus Long Eaton United. Now, I did predict a 3-0 victory from Racing Club Warwick. Wow, did I get that wrong this week? So, Long Eaton United's charge to the playoff continues after an impressive win against Racing Club Warwick. Evan Garnett put Long Eaton in the lead on the 40th minute with his 16th goal of the season with a wonderful strike from about 18 yards out, which gave the goalkeeper no chance whatsoever. Racing Club Warwick would try to mount a comeback and would put the ball in the back of the net, only to be disallowed for an offside. And then in the second half, Garnett would get his second of the game and his 17th of the season for to steal the points with a low cross into the box. Garnett would be there to tap the ball home. This result was a massive blow for Racing Club Warwick, who have shot up the league recently, but will help Long Eaton back into playoff contention. The last game we'll look at today, St Neots versus Carlton Town. So Carlton Town continued their push for automatic promotion, getting all 3 points at St Neots. Ashley Chambers would give Carlton Town the lead in the 34th minute, but that lead would only last until the 81st minute when Reece Thorpe would get the late equaliser. But Ollie Clark would snatch all 3 points in the injury time with a well-taken goal, which can be seen on Carlton Town's X account. This result would leave St Neots hovering above the relegation zone and currently in trouble. Regards to highlights, as of recording this video, teams that have highlights available to view are Rushden and Diamonds versus Sutton Coldfield Town. The highlights can be found on Rushden and Diamonds YouTube channel at AFCRDTV. Lichfield City versus Wellingborough can be found on YouTube via Brooksy TV, which is at Brooksy TV 7849. Racing Club Warwick versus Long Eaton can be found on Racing Club Warwick's YouTube channel. Shepshed Dynamo versus Bourne Town. Highlights can be found on the YouTube channel, Gibbo Shepshed Sport. Now, other teams haven't put highlights on yet. Now, normally, looking at the teams that normally put highlights on, Loughborough, Rugby Borough and St Neots normally put highlights on. I haven't seen them on there yet, so it would be worth checking out the highlights. It'd be nice for everyone to see the highlights of all the games, so please check them out. So we will now take a look at the league table as it stands. So at the top, Carlton Town remain out front on 58 points, followed by Balfour Town on 44 points, who lost to Corby Town. And it's tight at the top end of the table. 8 points now will separate second and up to 13th place. So a good run of form for any team from 13 up to have a real chance to get into the playoffs. Obviously, those teams are Lichfield City, Rushden and Diamonds, Shepshed Dynamo, Long Eaton, Coleshill, Mickletover, Wellingborough, Corby Town, are the ones just outside the playoffs at the moment. And then you've got Racing Club Warwick, Basford, Anstey and Balpat in the playoffs. My shout for the playoffs is I think Corby Town are going to fall just short because the upheaval and change with management and players coming and going. But I think Wellingborough Town are going to be the team who are going to push up there. I think Mickletover might just get a late run, possibly. But then Long Eaton, who've been good over the years, they've got an opportunity. So the four in the playoffs at the moment, there's nothing set in stone because it's so tight at the top end of the table. I mean, Anstey Nomads have got 3 or 4 games in hand over some teams. So they could still potentially go on and win the league. But I think Carlton Town are in a strong position at the moment. If we look at the bottom of the table, Bedford United are now off the bottom, 4 points away from equaling to make them safe. 5 points if they will get them out of the relegation zone. Loughborough Students now occupy bottom of the table after their draw, and Coventry Sphinx lost and now in the relegation battle. I still think it's too tight at the moment to say which four will be the 4 that come down come the end of the season. I can see some teams signing a lot of players in the next few weeks. There'll be a lot of movement around the bottom. I do think the 8 teams at the bottom will be the teams who are in danger at the moment and need to sort themselves out. We'll go from bottom to top there, see which 8 teams they are. So Loughborough, Bedworth, Bourne, Boldmere, Coventry Sphinx, St Neots, Rugby Town, and possibly Sutton Coldfield Town. But I think it's more from Rugby Town down the teams who could be dragged into this relegation battle. With Bedworth, Bedworth, Bourne and Loughborough, all they need is 2 or 3 wins, and then everybody else is dragged back into it. So it'll be interesting to see what happens at the bottom. I think we will see a lot of movement in the next few weeks. So it'll be one to watch. So what do we have coming up next? We have 2 midweek games coming up. On Tuesday, we'll see Rushden and Diamonds versus Anstey Nomads. And on Wednesday, we've got Corby Town versus Coleshill Town. Then we have a full set of fixtures on the 24th of January. The standout fixtures for me have to be Basford versus Racing Club Warwick. This one can have major implications at the top of the table for that playoff push. Elsewhere, we've got Coventry Sphinx versus Loughborough Students. This is a must-win game for both teams who need to get 3 points. Obviously, with Loughborough going to the bottom of the table and Sphinx now hovering just above the relegation zone. So it would be a massive boost for their survival hopes. We then got Rugby Town versus Lichfield City. So this could be another tricky test for two teams struggling with consistency at the moment. Rugby probably at the top end of the relegation battle, but they need to get a few more points on the board if they want to secure another season in the division. So I'm going to give some predictions, which I'm not sure how last week's went, not very well, I don't think, for the next round of games. So midweek for Rushden and Diamonds versus Anstey Nomads, I'm actually going to predict that's going to finish 1-1. On the Wednesday fixture, Corby Town versus Coleshill Town. I was going to say 2-2. I think Corby might snatch that possibly, but I'm going to go for 2-2 for that one. And then for the games that we have for the 24th of January, which is the 4 round of fixtures, I'll give some predictions here for this as well. So we've got Basford United versus Racing Club Warwick. I'm going to say 2-1 to Basford. I think they're going to push themselves into that playoff position again. Bedford United versus Shepshed Dynamo. I think there's going to be quite a few goals in this one, so I'm going to go for 3-2 to Bedford United. Bourne Town versus St Neots. I think that's going to be a 1-1 draw. Two teams near the bottom of the table. Might be a bit cagey. Carlton Town versus Boldmere. I think this is going to be a 2-1 victory for Carlton Town. I think Carlton Town, we're not going to see lots of big victories for them in the next few games. I think that's going to be a tight 2-1 victory. Coleshill Town versus Rugby Borough. I'm going for 1-0 to Coleshill Town. A little bit of home advantage. Corby Town versus Anstey Nomads. I think Anstey Nomads are going to be too strong for Corby Town. I'm going to say 2-1, but that could be 3-1 possibly. But I'm going for 2-1. Coventry Sphinx versus Loughborough Students. Two teams struggling at the wrong end of the table. I think both teams are going to come out and be quite defensive, maybe try snatch a 1-0 victory, but I'm going to say 0-0 on that one. Long Eaton United versus AFC Rushden and Diamonds. I'm going to say 1-0 for Long Eaton United. After their impressive victory over Racing Club Warwick, I think they're going to continue their push up the table. Rugby Town versus Lichfield City. Although I think Rugby Town have got some decent players at the moment, I think that's going to be a 2-1 victory for Lichfield City. Sutton Coldfield Town versus Mickletown. I think Mickletown are going to continue their push up the table. I think it's going to be a 2-0 victory for Mickletown. And then Wellingborough versus Balfour Town. I think Wellingborough are going to win this 3-1. I do think Wellingborough are going to be the team who have this late surge in the second half of the season to get into the playoffs there. I think they're going to get into the playoffs, and I think they're going to have quite a good surge towards the end of the season. So if everyone can let me know their predictions in the comments, I want to see who's going to differ to what I say if anyone does agree with me. So that's it for this week's review of the Northern Premier League Midland Division. If you've enjoyed the show, make sure you like, subscribe and share, and don't forget to leave your thoughts and comments below. I'll be back next week to break it all down again, but until then, enjoy the football, thanks for watching, and we'll see you again next time.